What's up, everyone? Good evening. Welcome to tonight's stream here on My Disney World Picks. Hold on, wait, we are showing a name we don't need to be showing. There we go. So welcome to tonight's stream, everyone. We actually have a special guest tonight here on the stream. I don't really have a set idea how we're going to structure the stream tonight, because normally when we're doing the Fixer Mod streams, where we start with my Q&A, then we move into the interview with the special guest. I don't on my laptop, my tablet's trying to go. Anyway, so I don't know, but before we get into the stream, for those of you tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Make sure you smash that like button before we get started. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you ring that subscribe button and the bell icon so you know when I go live or post new videos in the future. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And if you feel so inclined, you can donate to the channel at paypal.me/MyDisneyWorldFix, or now that we are monetized, you can click that little dollar sign in the chat window and send a super chat as well. Both ways will support the channel. Thank you to all who do. So what is up, everyone? Disney Nerd Herders is here. Mickey Bunch is here. Hey, Kelly. Resort Budgeting is here. And Dad's in the house, too, right behind the camera. Guys, we got a new angle tonight. I'm broadcasting off my phone to give us a little bit smoother audio and video this week, because we are on StreamYard. When I've been broadcasting off of my laptop, we've been having audio problems and connectivity problems, and I just want it to be smoother this week. Hey, Brenda, how are you doing? So, guys, I think what we're going to do, I think we're going to continue with our normal operations here. We're going to start with our Q&A. So the guest, I know the guest can hear me. He can't talk to y'all yet, but he can hear me and I can see him. It is a him. So just stay patient there, buddy. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, cool. All right. Kim Stolworthy is here. Samantha Lowe is here. What's up, everyone? So, guys, let's hop into this week's stream. Let's get started with this week's Q&A. Who's got the first question? Hey, Mel. So while we're waiting for the first question, guys, I'm really excited to have this person on the stream tonight. I hadn't seen him in like a month and a half, and I'm just so excited to have him on the stream tonight. So let's get going. Who's got the first question here? I think we can have some good questions tonight. Lots of changes, lots of updates with Disney this week, too. If you could only visit one park for the rest of your life, what would it be, Magic Kingdom or Epcot? That's a tough one, because I love both parks almost equally. I mean, Magic Kingdom's my favorite, but I love them both almost equally. Yeah, you can see Sassy back there. Sassy. There's Sassy. All right. I think I still got to go with Magic Kingdom, though, because it's just not really much that can replace that, that standard Disney magic. I hate to use the word standard there, but just what you come to expect when you go to Disney. Fantasyland, the Tomorrowland, the Adventureland, Frontierland, Liberty Square, Main Street. There's just nothing like it elsewhere in Walt Disney World. Do I start in Canada or Mexico? Depends on my mood in the day. Because, it depends on ultimately my destination. If I'm going to like France or UK, of course I'm going to go right towards Canada and go around that way. If my destination is over there like Germany or Norway, I'm going to go around on the left. So I don't really have a standard way that I must go. What do you think about that YouTuber that broke into the park since it's been closed? He's an idiot. I hope he enjoys his lifetime ban. I hope it was worth it. Those are my thoughts, and that's all I'm going to say.
It was, and here I sit. It was worth it, and here I sit.
Oh, please stop. Oh, Andy's in the chat. Andy says, I think that YouTuber has guts, but definitely wasn't worth it. Is it really worth getting banned? Because that was Disneyland. So is it really worth getting banned permanently, the lifetime, from the most magical place on earth to sneak into a place to try and get a souvenir? Is that really worth it? When you can just wait for the parks to reopen, you can get a souvenir like that. I don't know, Andy, you're in the chat. You can answer this for me. Do you know if Disneyland has like a cast connection like place? I don't know. If you could visit any Disneyland around the world, what would it be? Hands down, I would go to the original. It's Walt's Park. That's all I gotta say. It's Walt's Park. If it wasn't for Walt's Park, all the other ones around the world, including ours, Walt Disney World, would not exist. And it's still the place where Walt walked. Let's see. No, this is Q&A. You can ask me whatever, pretty much whatever you want within reason.
Kim asked a question.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What do you think about Grunt coming to Tampa? I'm floored. I'm flabbergasted. I'm dumbfounded. Is there any other word for that? Me and my dad were talking about this in the car earlier. We basically came to the conclusion that, Gronk with Tom Brady and Mike Evans is going to make a dynamite trio, and I expect to see great things out of them. And my personal thoughts is that they just need to kind of reinforce that offensive line a little better, so Tom is protected and can do his job. What is your favorite country at Epcot? Now, this goes back and forth depending on my mood as well, but it's always the same two. It's either Mexico, because I like that the Mexico Pavilion is indoors, so one, air conditioning, and two, they can have this perpetual nighttime setting. So I like that, plus Grand Fiesta Tour. Who doesn't like Grand Fiesta Tour? Andy's in the chat. He can attest to it. He wrote it, what was it, 41 times in a row?
I own that ride.
I own that ride. Christine, you sent me over to say hi. Hi. But the other one is Japan, because I just like, my gosh, now I can't remember. Michikoshi, that's the name of the store that they got there, because they got all the pop culture stuff from anime and Japanese video games like Nintendo, Pokemon. That store is really fun. What's your favorite Disney movie loop or music loop? Sorry. It's a tie between Interventions and Tomorrowland. I do really like the entrance music to Hollywood Studios too, though. That big band swing sound cover of all of them. Hey, David, Menu Rager. But yeah, I think that it's a three-way tie between them. The entrance slash bag check ticket sale area of Disney's Hollywood Studios. I like that big band swing sound of the Disney songs, especially "Friend Like Me." "Friend Like Me" that's a good song, good cover of that song. But I also like the Interventions music that still remains. And I actually have one of those songs from the Interventions loop is actually on Spotify, and I almost play it on a perpetual loop. It's such a good song. And of course, you can't go wrong with Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland's a great loop as well. Tomorrowland's loop I almost find kind of relaxing. I'll just put it on and close my eyes, and there I am sitting down with a pretzel at Lunching Bay, eating it, just enjoying myself. Least favorite ride at Walt Disney World. Some people find this kind of controversial. I don't really find it all that controversial, but I don't like the Seas with Nemo and Friends. I think it's a very poor ride. It's not really much to it. Even for a Omnimover dark ride, it just has nothing to it. I find it incredibly boring, and I only get on it if I'm having to burn a fast pass. because let's face it, there's not many attractions at Epcot. As much as we love Epcot, there's not many attractions there, especially those that use Fast Pass. So there's that. All right, guys, who's got the next question? Only passengers. Jeff just posted a video. I think we have a PayPal here. Trying to find it though. What? $20 from Chase. Thank you for that, Chase.
Favorite character meet and greet.
Favorite character meet and greet. Now I'm wearing my Hollywood Studios shirt tonight because, well, you'll see. But obviously I love Mickey and Minnie to death, but let's see. As far as experience goes, Sorcerer Mickey's pretty fun if you can, because that meet and greet's usually pretty busy. They can get into what they call the hug and shove, I guess is what the internal term for it is, which is where they come in, they give you a hug, shake your hand, take a picture, out the door you go. So if you can get Sorcerer Mickey to interact with you, that can be a pretty fun one. Same with Minnie in that same place. But I really think the funnest interaction I've ever had came from Daisy. Daisy at Epcot is always very fun. She's very sassy. Hey, Taylor. So I think I'm going to go with Daisy at Epcot because Daisy's pretty fun. Hey, who's going to burn you at the stake for loving Figment? What character dining are you looking forward to trying? Topolino's character breakfast. That's probably the top of my list, and I'm going to do it with Tom at Tom Does Disney when we can get it reopened. Hey, Grizz, how you doing tonight? Found an old 60s to 70s Mickey today. It managed to make it. Oh, cool. Classic Mickey. David, you guys send me a picture of that. Talking dries up my mouth. All right. Who's got the next question here? $19 people watching right now. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, guys. Just make sure you smash that like button. And keep the questions coming. We're having fun here. We have a guest tonight that we haven't seen in a while, and I'm looking forward to getting him on stream. He's not near his camera right now, though. Oh, okay. I see what you did there. I see what you did there in the little video. All right. If you had the chance to suggest an improvement to Disney, what would it be? There's so many that I would do. But the one that came to me off the top of my head, again, this is one of very many that I've thought of. But the one that came to the top of my head was I would revert Test Track to Test Track 1.0. The storyline was just so much better on Test Track 1.0. Open the playground ASAP. I agree, Andy.
And you bring back the Beverly.
Yeah, I believe, if I remember correctly, Club Cool is supposed to return in some capacity when this is all done. So, Bub Beverly will be back, as Dad put it. For those of you that don't get the reference, that's an old Neil McCoy song. If you don't know who Neil McCoy is, look it up and look up the Hillbilly Rap. That's what it's from.
You got a question from Taylor?
I was just about to read it. What Disney merch item do you want most? I think right now I'm getting a very stern look from my father behind the camera right now. I want the ink and paint backpack. That's probably the thing that I'm wanting the most right now. The ink and paint backpack. I meant to get it before the parks closed, but I didn't. Let's see. Andy's Playground asked if you were giving a tour to of Magic Kingdom to someone who had never experienced it, where would you go first? I've actually done this a couple times with friends. I tried to take them over to Big Thunder first. I tried to start in Frontierland, but if I can't, I'll start in Tomorrowland. I try to start them out with one of the big rides. That's probably the best way I can put it. I liked all the original props at the original test track. I used a lot of those automotive items. Yeah, that's what made the original test track so good, because you felt like you were at an actual testing facility for General Motors. And now you walk into it and it's like this very posh, polished, simulated room, and it's just not good to me. I don't understand what story they were going for with this one. Jenna, yeah, you see Sassy behind me. Oh wait, I'm blocking her. She's over here. I'm so used to not this mirror. There we go. She's there. Hey, Disney nerd herders, welcome back. So, I just don't really care for the current theming on Test Track. All right, David, thank you. I'll check it out after the stream. All right, guys, who's got the next question here? We'll take another two before we meet up with our special guest, our special mystery surprise guest. Hey, Elizabeth. Do you think Walt would want more up-to-date rides or the original traditional rides? Walt was an innovator. That's all he ever was. He was an innovator, so I would think he would want the latest and greatest. If you could build any style of ride, what would it be? You know, there's just so many possibilities here. I'm going to take one example here. But let's go with this not rumor, but announced Mary Poppins area. Because the rumor now is that it was only supposed to be an indoors teacups ride. And now it's on the verge of being cut and canceled because of the shutdown. But I don't think that's worthy of Mary Poppins, to be honest, or that area. I think they would need to build some sort of dark ride. I don't know if I would make it an Omni-Mover dark ride or a trackless, but Mary Poppins deserves some sort of dark ride. All right. I saw it. If you could stay at any resort for a weekend, which one would it be? I would go to the Poly. I want to stay at the Poly. That's probably my most desired resort right now is the Poly. Not Grand. Polynesian. I have fallen for the Poly hard. Mary Poppins should be a carousel. That's not a bad choice, though. Mary Poppins should either be a dark ride or a carousel. A spinning teacups ride is not it. Although I heard it was supposed to have projections too, so it would have made a difference. But whatever. Disney Nerd Herders asked me, when you are, hold on, it scrolled up on me. When you are at the MK Hub, do you tend to go left or right? Same goes with Epcot. Do you start with Mexico or Canada? Well, I answered the World Showcase one already. With World Showcase, it just depends on my mood and where I'm heading, my ultimate destination, what I'm feeling that particular day. So there's no particular choice there. Now, with Magic Kingdom, if I don't have a particular plan set, if I'm just coming into the park and going willy-nilly, I tend to go right into Tomorrowland. That is if I'm coming after the park is already open. If I'm coming in at rope drop, I will go left and go to and start at Big Thunder Mountain. That's always the case.
Jessica Miller.
Let's see.
Just under the one you just said.
Yeah. If Disney opened tomorrow, where would you go?
Would you go?
Would I go? Absolutely, I would go. You know, I'm all for being careful with this whole thing going on. I don't want to say act dumb and stupid and use the phrase YOLO and be dumb and stupid, but at the same time, as people use the phrase YOLO to justify dumb actions. It's still true, though. You do only live on this earth once, and I want to be able to say I lived it to the fullest. So yeah, I would still go if it was open.
Resort budgeting.
All right, guys.
Resort budgeting.
Resort budgeting's got our last question here. Do you think Wreck-It Ralph ride replacing Stitch would have a spinning ride, or will it stay the same configuration? But the rumor I've heard, and I stress this is a rumor that I've heard, and I have no insider information on this, but the rumor I've heard is that it was supposed to stay the theater in the round style that show building has been since it opened as, I think it was Mission to the Moon back in '71. So that's what I've heard. All right, guys. So that's going to about wrap up this week's Q&A. Thank you so much for your questions. We had some good ones there this week. Looking forward to next week. So if you want to ask me a question and you didn't get to ask it today, make sure you set it aside, write it down so you can ask it next week, and we'll go over it next week. Do you hear they may do away with annual passes to limited attendance? I haven't heard that, and I doubt they would. That would cost them so much money and not really worth it. All right, guys, so let's bring in this week's surprise guest. Buddy, you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. You're ready. All right. So this week's surprise guest is our good buddy, Andy, at Andy's Playground. What's up, buddy?
Hi, guys. Good to see you. Nice to finally be here. Good to finally talk to you. Yeah, we're excited to be here.
You don't really know how excited I am to have you on the stream tonight, because I've told you so many times you are easily one of my best friends at the parks, and I miss you.
Oh, thank you, but I miss you too. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Thank you. I so appreciate everyone for responding. It's great to see you guys.
So, guys, if you don't know Andy, Andy is the host over at Andy's Playground. And mods, if you could please throw his link into the chat below. I didn't get to put it in the description, or it would have given away who it was. I started to earlier. I actually almost slipped up and put your channel's link in the description when I was setting this up earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait, I better not do that. That will give it away.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Nice to meet you, Disney Nerd Herders. I've heard about you guys.
So, guys, let's get this out of the way right off the top of the stream. This is one of the first times I've talked to Andy since he went home to his home state during this whole coronavirus mess. So congratulations on the marriage, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Sierra and I are very, very happy, and we're happy to finally be married. She's taking some time, but it's just gonna be so awesome. And we're happy to finally be married, and we're happy to finally eventually be going back to Florida soon. So that's our goal, at least.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my first questions. You are coming back to Florida, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. I mean, so I kind of talked to you about this earlier, but we're currently looking at a place in the first week of May, and basically our goal is to try to get there as soon as we can. I just got to make sure I'm still being employed by something, and so we're looking for jobs in the area right now still. Right now, I'm currently up in my home state in Virginia. I'm currently working at a grocery market. Basically, all I'm doing is just cleaning carts right now and just saving up for apartments. We have a really good apartment that we've toured before previously when we were back in Florida, and so hopefully everything will work out. But we're very excited to finally be back and in the process of getting back to Disney eventually.
So, what do you miss most about Florida right now besides Disney? We got to get that out of the way. Because I know you miss Disney the most, but other than Disney, what do you miss the most?
I think what I miss the most right now in Florida probably would be my friends. I miss a lot of my friends that we had down there. I miss all of you guys. I miss being able to talk with a lot of my cast member friends as well. Being able to see and just talk to people a lot more. Being back here in Virginia, this is my old life. I've gone on, done college, and I'm moving forward. So it kind of felt like taking a step back, coming back here and kind of being trapped here for a little bit. but hopefully we're able to get out of here soon, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to seeing all you guys again too.
So one of the things you've been doing since even before the parks closed on your Instagram stories, you were doing I believe it was basically a tournament style game where you were putting all the shows of Walt Disney World against each other, park by park, then you put them up against each other, the best of the best.
Sir. Every
What
show
made you
except
do that, dude?
what was that?
What made you do that?
So I was massively I guess I was inspired by people like Wannabe Musketeer, Gina Does Disney, That Diz Girl, and a bunch of other people who do these tournament style things. And I wanted to take that and kind of just do my own thing with it too. However, I also had the idea in the back of my head. I knew that my favorite show, which is Muppet Vision 3D, wasn't going to win. I just knew it wasn't going to beat Fantasmic. It wasn't going to beat, probably wouldn't beat Indiana Jones, and it probably wouldn't even have beaten some of the other stuff that was in Hollywood studios. And so I kind of had an underlying plan that I was going to just keep that in my back pocket until the very, very just for the big finale. But what I didn't realize was there are a ton of shows and a ton of different things to cover. And so by the time I got to Epcot, which was the third park, I was almost burnt out. And then when eventually getting to Magic Kingdom, that was really fun because there's a lot of really good classic attractions that counted as shows that I was able to put up against each other. And it was fun to see what people chose. I think the biggest surprise was seeing how many people voted Mickey's Friendship Fair and into higher and higher and higher, beating a lot of other good shows, which I was really surprised about. That was probably the big surprising one. But eventually, Happily Ever After, it destroyed everything. So,
well,
as it always does.
I'll be honest, I kind of saw that coming.
I did too. That's kind of why I saved Magic Kingdom for the end. Just because I knew the second I put Happily Ever After on the table, it's over, you know. But I will say, in the final four battle between all four parks, which was Fantasmic, Happily Ever After, the Voices of Liberty, and the Festival of the Lion King, it was interesting how close it was. It was literally by a few votes. And Fantasmic versus Happily Ever After was very close as well. Well, I was happy to see a really good fight.
Well, I got to say, between the spectaculars, this is my opinion, but Fantasmic is very much close to scale of Happily Ever After in mine. I mean, you know, there's a lot more work that goes to putting on Fantasmic. All those cast members, all that prep work throughout the day to get ready for it. Whereas Happily Ever After, the fireworks guys just go up and wire up the fireworks and then set off a computer sequence. Yeah,
for sure. I think, honestly, one of the things that was very interesting just to see the difference in the nighttime spectacular shows. Like, it was good. I was kind of, like, subtly glad to see, like, Epcot Forever not do so well against some of the classic stuff. Like, even Mariachi Cobra, I think, was giving it a run for its money at the time. And I think it was really good to see people, like, actually, like, taking into granted, like, okay, these nighttime shows are really good, but what makes them really good? Happily Ever After delivers a lot of punch to it, though. I think there's a lot more emotion packed into Happily Ever After than there is in the Fantasmic. It makes you feel, it's a really, really good show. I did it, and I would gladly, I put it through the ringer. I made it go up against some of the hardest things to go up against, but I 100% respect that show. And I do like that show. I have seen it too many times, I think. And that
you were talking about this throughout the contest, how you were kind of burnt out on Happily Ever After because you've seen it so many times.
Exactly. But I mean, that's the thing is, like, whenever I took my friends, whenever they came to Disney World, whenever I took them to go see a nighttime show, one of the shows I'd always recommend them to see is Happily Ever After. I was going to take them to go see Rivers of Light or Epcot Forever. I would take them mainly to go see Happily Ever After. And that was the goal. And so it was good to be able to see their reactions to it. However, one of the things that was fun being able to discover during this whole contest as well was how much I really liked the Star Wars fireworks show at Hollywood Studios. Like, I was blown away by that. And I think that's one of the most underrated shows that people probably should go check it out more often too. However, I mean, if you're going to choose between Fantasmic and Star Wars, I get it. If you only have one night and you'd rather like some classic Disney stuff, go see Fantasmic. But it's still
in the same way. I mean, you know me, local, lifetime local. pass holder. I can get my pick litter any time of the night. But if I'm faced with the choice of I only get one that night, more often than not, I'm going to choose to go see Fantasmic.
Exactly. Yeah. So the one bright side though is with Star Wars Fireworks Show, you don't really have to camp out a spot too much. So for it, Fantasmic, you kind of want to get there.
Oh my gosh,
early.
with Fantasmic, for me to get the spot that I like, I literally have to be there as soon as they open the gates.
It's hard,
which they usually open gates 90 minutes before showtime.
Yeah. My one criticism for Fantasmic is that it is clear the fetch out of there. Like, it is so back behind the park. It just is like a trek to get to one show. And I feel like they could have planned that a little bit better when they're building the park.
And it's not even that isolated because you can still hear and see the light pollution from the Star Wars fireworks in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get the sound, the music or anything, but you still get, the sound of the fireworks themselves exploding.
For sure.
So it's not even really that isolated. And you even get because it's close enough to, because right behind the theater, if you look at it on a map, right behind the theater is Buena Vista Drive, which is the road that separates Hollywood Studios from Epcot most directly. And so you get the light pollution from, well, when I first started seeing Fantasmic, it was Illuminations. Now you get it from Epcot Forever. So you get light pollution from both parks' main fireworks shows, and it's not even that isolated. So I don't get it.
Yeah, for sure.
And and I will say this: our Fantasmic at Walt Disney World is in desperate need of a refurb and upgrade, like Disneyland's got a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think it would be possible to even move Fantasmic to Magic Kingdom, and I think that would be very interesting. Like, if you could create a similar setup that Disneyland has, I think that would have been way cooler to see that there, because I think that's kind of where Fantasmic kind of should belong, in my opinion. And you could do something with that space back there. You could put a whole land back there. There's so much space in that area. You could do so much in that area, and I feel like that is very prime. And I think that you could possibly move that to Magic Kingdom. It would be difficult, but you could do it.
The one thing I will say is I still do like that we have a dedicated theater for Fantasmic. I do like that. I mean, but because we get to use the Steamboat Willie instead of the regular steamboat, and I like that aspect of Steamboat Willie, Mickey driving Steamboat Willie, not driving. What is their steamboat called? I forget what theirs is called, but you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't look right to me to see Steamboat Willie driving Liberty Bell.
Yeah. And I mean, plus, I think there would be some easy refurbs that you could do with Fantasmic, what we have here. I think you could almost change the Pocahontas scene and make it a Moana scene, if you wanted to get really technical with it. There's so many cool water effects that you can do with that. So it's possible that you could do that there. But yeah.
My only complaint about Disneyland's Fantasmic isn't always has been the Pirates of the Caribbean scene, because the entire show is mainly animated, and all of a sudden, boom, you get slapped in the face with a live action Disney property, and it just feels so out of place. I think it was better as a Peter Pan scene.
Yeah, well, I mean, they also have the Columbia, which is, I mean, that's a cool ship. We do have a similar kind of ship with the ship that sits right behind the Garden Rock Theater. Yeah, in the American Pavilion area, which they did use. My Sierra and I found out they did use that ship technically at least once. They used it for one of the sing-along songs where they went to the beach and then they went to the pirate thing on the boat, which we thought was really funny.
So we're stuck on this topic of Fantasmic. So let's try. Let's talk about your podcast you and Sierra are doing now, The Playground. Tell us about it.
So one of the things I've always been kind of recently inspired by is the people like you guys who do live streams and things like that as well. I was always trying to figure out how I'd want to do my own live stream, and I always knew I wanted to be a part of a podcast. Because there's just so many cool things to talk about. You and I were originally going to have a podcast, and we still technically could have a podcast. It's just timing. It's one of those things where, like, I knew I wanted to do something special with Sierra as well too. And so I came up with the idea of creating a live stream that would double as a podcast. So during the time, it would be very interactive with the people who would be on that live stream. And then I would take the audio and put it into a podcast and encourage people to either write into the podcast or to participate in the live stream, so that way we can have really good discussions. And the first episode was released last Thursday. I still haven't really touched the audio yet, and I haven't been able to figure out how to put that into a podcast format yet. But eventually I'll do that, and I'll put it in the most podcasting areas. But we actually have another episode tomorrow where we're bringing on Rod from Disney Rod. And that's going to be really exciting too. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to do so. It's just something super simple, super fun, super casual. But our goal is to try to create a very positive light that's not necessarily just dedicated to Disney, but just dedicated to the things that we find fun and things that we can talk about. But yeah, in our last episode, we talked about our last days working for Disney as a cast member, and then our last day and night at the Disney parks as well, just to kind of explain our point of view and what happened.
Well, so let's talk about your last day here. I know I had talked to you the night before I called you because, you know, it was me, Robin, Tanya, Jenna, her sister Steph, and I think Tom was with us too, but we all went to Magic Kingdom at the end of our 4-park day. And we saw, like, I believe this is when we found out about the DCP cast members being let go from the program. And my thought immediately went to you earlier that day. So during the fireworks, I saw all the DCP cast members that work in the Emporium come out and watch Happily Ever After, and we all lost it. We were crying big time.
Yeah.
And on the way home that night, I called you and talked to you about it. And I think you said Sierra was taking it harder than you were, but overall, what was that like, finding out you were losing your DCP early?
So it was brutal, but for me, I always try to take things pretty positively. However, in the manner that we found out was kind of the hardest part. I'll kind of retell it a little bit here too. The way I found out, it was on that Saturday when the news was released. We were among the first people to know about it at ESPN. I was working there during, I think it was a cheer competition going on at the time. And I was just standing outside, and leaders were coming by every now and then, coordinators, and we were talking about that entire week. Like, we don't know what's going on yet, guys, but we'll let you know. We'll let you know as soon as we know anything. And there would be meetings left and right with the union organizations, and everyone was just talking. And then eventually a leader came by and said, "Hey, would you mind just coming for a meeting really quick?" And sure. And so he was pulling me, and we were just talking the entire way. He wasn't talking too much though. But by the time we got to this room, it was kind of a break room about the size of a small little area where it had some computers and stuff like that where we used to log in. There were probably about 30 of us CPs that were gathered in the room, and I almost knew at that point something was going to happen that wasn't going to be good. And a lot of people were very anxious, and they had about 6 or 7 leaders from ESPN. I think almost everyone that was a leader at ESPN was there in this room. And one of the head leaders came up and read an email from Disney stating that all of the CPs would be sent home by Wednesday. They were supposed to be moved out of any DCP housing, and that they would be paid through the end of the month. But at this point, their internship should be considered completed, 100% finished, and that they're just going to go home. And the second that was said, it was almost as if he basically just open fired on a group of people. There were people falling to their knees. There were people that were just sobbing their eyes out, and people were lashing out at the leaders. They were like, "Well, what does this mean for me? I was going to move on with the end of the company. At the end of my program, I was going to try to jump on the company. What does this mean for me? What does that mean for me? I was trying to use this for college credit. I'm from a different country. I can't even go home right now because of the quarantine." And it was just depressing. For me personally, I was okay. I felt like, no matter what happens is we're going to be okay. I know me and Sierra were going to be okay. We moved out of CP housing earlier a couple months ago. Prior to this, I knew we were going to be fine. We're just going to hang out in the area, and then Disney was going to open up in 2 weeks, and we'd be totally fine. But I felt for these people, that was my mindset at the time. But we felt for all these people that were just crying and that they were sobbing and they were going through all this brutal time. And it was just super hard to watch just because they were devastated. And that was the mindset. Most of them, I think, went home. I kept working. I worked to the end of my shift, and then I went to Hollywood Studios. I got to see everyone, big crying everywhere, and it was just so depressing. On the next day, which was the last day, I think I told you that night beforehand. I was I didn't want to go into work the next day.
Yeah, you were telling me, like I said, I talked to you that night after we left Magic Kingdom, and I called you, checked on Sierra, and you told me that you were considering not even going in for your final day.
Mm-hmm. And it was hard, and I stayed up all that night because I couldn't sleep. And I woke up about an hour before my shift at like 6:30 in the morning, and I was just like, you know what, I don't want that day to be my last memory of working at Disney. And so I got dressed really quickly. I had a rush. I couldn't find my keys. Sierra had to drive over really quick with a spare key, and off I went to work, and I made it. And the coordinator was super, super nice, and she was just like, Andrew, do you like baseball? And I'm like, I love baseball. Like, good, we got some baseball, softball games going on today. So just go stand as an usher right here, basically watching the game. And I was just monitoring the fans, making sure no one was going up to this top deck. And I basically watched a bunch of baseball games my entire shift. They gave us free lunches. It was just super nice. And that was it. And after my shift, I think I clocked out around 2 o'clock. I ran over to Hollywood Studios, and I spent the rest of my day there. We had, for the 6 o'clock show, the Indiana Jones Epic Spectacular. All of the CPs were gathered into the VIP section of the arena area, and we all got to go on stage to be the junior directors, and that's where we all said lights, camera, action, and it was just super, super sweet. It was super, super sad, but we started the show off, and then at the end, all of the stunt doubles, everyone that worked in the show, tech, everyone came up and they were giving us all big hugs, and it was really sad. After that, I think Sierra and I kind of split up a little bit. She wanted to go spend some time with her traffic cones, which was really cute. But I stayed with my friends, and we went to go see Fantasmic. We pretty much got to get on most of the rides that we wanted to do. We even later on, after the park had closed, it was during extra magic hours at Hollywood Studios that night. And so they let us go on Rise of the Resistance, which was super kind of them, because many of the CPs hadn't been able to go on it at all. And we also did Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is my last ride that I did there. And then I ended my night just with my lightsaber that I brought from home, and we went to go take some pictures in Galaxy's Edge. And I'm sure there's a picture of me on my Instagram where I'm holding the lightsaber behind my head right next to the Millennium Falcon. And that was the moment where I like, all right, it's over, time to leave. And it was just really brutal. And but I have in my heart, and I have in my, in my soul, that there are very few places I've ever worked in my life where I felt like I truly belonged. Like I felt like I made a difference. Like I felt like I contributed to this area. But Disney was the one place in my lifetime where I felt like what I did was good. What I did was great. What I did was I made a difference. I made someone's life a little bit better when I was working as a cast member. And so Sierra and I have both made the goal that no matter what we're doing, no matter where we go, we're definitely returning to Disney in some form, and we'll be back with the company as soon as we possibly can.
And I know I'm looking forward to having you home, buddy. You know that. And just hearing all that, because you told me all this before, but just hearing it now, it still breaks my heart. I know what happened to the cast, to the DCP cast members, just having basically the rug ripped out from under you like that.
It was brutal, but I mean, like, the thing is, I talked about this on my live stream too. Like, what could have been done? Would you have told a group of people, like maybe about 10,000 people or so, that their last day was going to be that Sunday, a couple days previously, or that they were going to have to move out on Wednesday? That was the only way Disney could humanely do that. with the knowledge that they had, it made perfect sense for them to do that. And it was just super sad that that was the case, but I'm just grateful that we were all able to get a last day. That we were understand like this is our last day. It wasn't something where they told us this long after the fact. And I could have even just gone home that Sunday, just like I'm tired.
You could have literally gone home that Saturday night, not knowing anything. Woke up the next morning to an email saying, "Don't come in. You're already terminated."
Yeah, it would have been that bad, and that's just really hard. So I'm glad that they did it the way they did, because that's pretty much the only way
they probably did it the most humanely way they could, like you said, but it was still rough. Because, like I said, those cast members in front of us during Happily Ever After that night, they were just losing it, bawling big time. And, Robin and Tanya are both DCP parent alums. And so they had a hard time watching these kids that were basically like their kids, in essence, going through that. Robin almost couldn't stand it.
For sure. But yeah, they definitely made the right call with what they had to do, though. And I mean, even recently when they had to send all the cultural representatives home, I mean, that's the right call. And so I'm glad that they have a time to now reset, do what they need to do. But I really hope the parks are open.
All right, so let's see if we can get something happier going here.
Yeah.
Because I love talking about this. You get your insight on this whole thing, but it's so depressing. So let's talk about predictions here. When do you think, as with your knowledge as a former cast member now, when do you think the parks will open? The emphasis there for those watching is thinks. It's just his prediction, his speculation.
So I believe Disney's going to be doing whatever they can to be able to get open as soon as they can. I believe, however, I think a lot of other companies are going to be looking to Disney as kind of like the model for how they want to open like their bigger societies, like Universal or SeaWorld or something like that. And I feel like Disney is going to try to push to open very slowly and very cautiously. And I feel like that the way they're going to do that is probably by opening up in like mid-June, just very, very small, like certain attractions, certain shows, certain things, just kind of testing the waters a little bit, seeing what they can and can't do, seeing how they can clean things very effectively and quickly, seeing how they can limit the crowds. But it would be very interesting to see how that would work.
Yeah, I think me and you were talking about this before the stream. We pretty much agree that they're going to open Disney Springs first and could do that as early as May.
Yeah.
Because I just think that's probably one of the easiest places they can start testing out their methods for social distancing.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, like, one of the brilliant things that Disney did was with the furlough, which is something that a lot of people don't understand quite exactly, is that furlough ensured that, hey, if you guys need to file for unemployment, if you guys need to be taken care of, you guys can. But just so you know, if you guys want it, you have a sure spot with this company. You can come back. You're here, you're wanted, you're needed. We want to make sure that this is ready for you. It's not like saying, bye, see you later, good luck. And so Disney eventually will have the manpower to be able to bring everyone back, and anyone that they need to can hire on as well too, which is where Cian and I are going to try to jump in as well.
I think you'll have, there's going to be some cast members that don't return, so they're going to have openings. So there's going to be a lot of places that are probably going to be easily filled once they really do start to go higher back. Because, Disney is still a very popular employer in our area. So I don't think they'll have any problem filling the spots once they start to attempt to.
For sure.
So let me address a comment real quick so I don't miss it. Carrie asked me, am I going to be watching Saving Mr. Banks soon? I'm going to be watching Saving Mr. Banks Saturday night.
Ooh, that's a good movie.
That's
one of my favorite movies.
It's easily my hands down favorite live action Disney movie.
Mary Poppins is number one. Saving Mr. Banks is number two. But yeah.
Good point.
It's a good one.
I'm just a sucker for historical dramas, so.
It's a good one. It's something that's very true. I think the only thing that isn't necessarily true is that I think she actually hated I think she actually hated the movie as a whole, the author.
I think she did, and she tried to swear off Disney from ever touching another one. So still kind of baffles me how they were able to make Mary Poppins Returns.
Well, I think there's a
Like,
reason that they did it like long after the author had died, because I have many hard opinions on Mary Poppins Returns.
I haven't seen Mary Poppins Returns yet, so need to. Is that on Disney Plus? Do you know?
I don't know if it's on Disney Plus yet. I know it eventually will be, probably. It's worth seeing at least once. I think I've seen it at least twice now. But I just have some harder feelings on it. But I won't say anything.
Let's talk about Onward. I haven't seen Onward yet, though.
I loved Onward. Siri and I got to see that at AMC at Disney Springs. That was the last movie we got to see there. It was so good. It's one of my favorite Pixar's, just because it's a brother comedy, but it's a brother film as well. So if anyone ever has a brother or anything like that, or even like a good best friend, it's a great movie for that. So it's a great family movie. And especially because it's a really great nerdy movie too. So.
Well, they did that thing where once the theaters closed, Disney released it on home video early as sort of this theater at home type deal.
Right.
And so, I love Disney so much. I made sure I bought it because I want to support Disney in the best way I can right now. So they're still around to make the Disney park magic when it's safe to finally reopen. I want to make sure there still exists to do that.
Right.
And that was my little piece that I could do to ensure that.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh darn it! See, this is why I usually write notes down, because I've lost my train of thought. Because I had, oh yeah, the train of thought has left the station. You were telling me before the stream, your coworkers where you're working right now love hearing your Disney stories.
Oh, I mean, it's the hard part of working anywhere else other than like where, like if you ever worked a job where you absolutely love working there every single day you go into work, and then all of a sudden you can't work there anymore, and then you have to work somewhere completely and totally different. It's kind of a little bit hard to get into it. And so a very big talk point with my other coworkers whenever I'm standing outside and just cleaning grocery carts for people is what is it like to work at Disney? It was almost laughable, but one time someone asked me, like, would you rather work here at the store, or would you rather work for Disney? And I'm like, are you serious? Like,
is that even a question?
No, it's not even a question. And so it was just really funny. But I tell them about some of my favorite guest moments. I typically try to focus on the positive ones. But if they ever ask me, like, what was the worst one you ever had? I'm like, oh, I'll share it then. I typically don't like spreading like the negative stories, like publicly. Like I'll share it person to person and just tell them, oh, you wouldn't believe what my day was like today. Because I'm like, you know what? I don't want to paint an image that some of these terrible people come to Disney. I mean, they do, but I mean, it's still, it's something that almost every person who ever has worked for Disney, who has a YouTube channel or some kind of social media platform, they all talk about their worst guest experiences. And so it's always kind of fun just to be able to, like, you know what? I'll just try to focus on the good ones, but as much as I can. But if someone asks,
I've been watching this YouTube channel lately called r/, where he just goes on Reddit and he rereads Reddit threads, Reddit stories, and one of them came from Epic Stunt Spectacular, from a cast member who talked about his interaction with a very, very rude female guest who he called Karen, and talked about how his manager or coordinator, I forgot which word he used, just kind of subtly owned her.
Yeah.
I have to find it again because it was such a funny story.
It's just always fun to see. Like, one of the things with Epic, Indiana Jones, the stunt show, was just seeing how many people just felt very entitled about, wanting even just to be sitting in the fast pass section. I mean, it was almost every show, but I mean,
yeah, I believe, if I remember correctly, because I'm trying to remember the story now, I think the Cliff Notes version of it is She came to the show, had a fast pass, but the show had already hit capacity, so there was literally nowhere else to put her. And she demanded to be let in, despite the safety concerns. And her kid was just flat out embarrassed by his mother's actions. So the regular cast member was refusing, saying, "No, we don't have the room. We fit capacity already." And ultimately, the manager came and says, "What's going on?" "Oh, well, here's a coupon for an ice cream. We're sorry. If you come back for the next show, we'll get you in the VIP section." And she stormed off in a huff. And after she had walked off, the manager turns to the cast member and asks him, "So this is the last show of the day, right?" And the cast member got a big grin on his face, said, "Yep, this was the last show." She's going to come back for a show that doesn't exist. Uh-oh, I think we lost Andy.
Oh, there you go. Sorry,
There you
I just died.
Andy restored.
Yeah, anyway, she basically told to come back for a show that doesn't exist by the manager. And the kid got an ice cream.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I like about Disney is that they're very good with trying to make sure everyone leaves happy, but they're also really good with making sure that not everyone gets what they want, especially if it violates a safety issue. There was a ton of situations like that I've had to experience, but I'm grateful that Disney is one of those companies that will try to go out of their way, but also not go too out of their way to not to try to break rules. Yeah, with that.
It's just, it wasn't so much, I didn't like so much that the cast member did that to her, just that she got her comeuppance for being rude. Because if you're rude to a cast member, you're not going to get what you want. Cast members are still even.
Yeah, and the problem with the Indiana Jones Fast Pass is it very clearly says when you make the Fast Pass what times you're supposed to return. It says it on any Fast Pass. You're supposed to return between this time and this time. You know, there's a gap. With the Indiana Jones Fast Pass, one of the coolest things about that Fast Pass, like the Fantastic Fast Pass, is it will guarantee you a seat as long as you hit that time zone. We typically filled the capacity like 5 minutes before a show started, 5-10 minutes maybe. That's when we started turning people away. It was right around the time when we closed Fast Pass, because Fast Pass closes 15 minutes before the show starts. That way we make sure the Fast Pass gets guaranteed seats, and whoever's left, standby is being held in that little jungle area, then they get whatever's left. That's how they keep it very fair. And so with this situation, what probably happened was, and I'm not going to just assume, but what probably happened was this lady probably came a couple minutes before the show started.
I think if I remember correctly, she actually showed up right after the show started, like literally a minute or two after it started.
Yeah, and that's typically, the Fast Pass had already closed 15 minutes prior at the maximum, 15 minutes prior. So she was late for that. And what typically happens is if it wasn't the 6 o'clock show, we would say, your Fast Pass is still good for the next show. If you want to come use it for a later show, just come like in the next 45 minutes, which would be when the next show will be starting up pretty much. So.
Yeah, see, I'm starting to remember more about the story now, but she also tried to push back past the cast member who was telling her no.
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, she's lucky she didn't get ejected for that.
Yeah, no, we had a lady on a scooter one time. I don't like spreading negative stuff, but we had a lady on the scooter sometime. She rolled over a little child to try to get past, and it was pretty bad. We had to get the families out of there, and the lady with the scooter just kept rolling. It was just pretty bad. But
hey, Neil, how you doing tonight, buddy? So, let me ask you this: as a cast member, what's your favorite story as a cast member? Then.
Okay, that's an easy one. So my favorite story was, my favorite magic moment I ever got to make as a cast member was, so there was this family of 3. I can't remember their last name, which is probably good that I don't for this, but I remember the child's name was Megan, and Megan was, I think she was 9 years old, and she was hospitalized before she came to Disney World. She had autism, and she had a ton of different problems and different health issues and stuff like that. But she wanted to come to Disney World. Her family made this trip. They were able to make it just barely. And this is around the time that Galaxy's Edge was just open, so she wanted to go fly the Millennium Falcon because she's a huge Star Wars fan. But being, you know, with Millennium Falcon, if you don't know what you're doing, it's sometimes very disorienting. And so she was kind of bobbing around. She was flying all over the place. And by the time she figured out what was going on, the ride was over. And so they, by the way, I love all the Indiana Jones comments, and I would definitely love to answer those questions.
Yeah, we're going to save these questions, guys. So if those of you asking questions in the chat, we're saving them for the end after I have my Q&A with Andy, and then we'll get to the, because what we're doing is we're going to have my Q&A, then we'll go back to through the chat, answer those questions. Then we're going to end with Andy doing the Would You Rather that we did this past Saturday night on the stream. We're going to have him go through them.
That's awesome. I'm really excited about that.
So if you're asking questions in the chat, make sure you keep them handy. That way you can re-ask them at the end.
Right. So Megan was, they were wheeling her out in a wheelchair, and they were wheeling her past the Jedi training stage. And she sees Darth Vader fighting these young ones up there. And she had been in her wheelchair pretty much the entire time. But the second she saw Darth Vader, she stood up out of her wheelchair and said, I want to fight him. Her family wheeled her up to me. I'm working Jedi training that day, and I'm doing the sign-ups. And and they tell me the whole story, and I'm like, all right, let's make it happen. And she stands out of her wheelchair again. She said, I want to fight Vader. I want to fight Vader. And so I'm like, all right, we'll see if we can make it happen. At Jedi training, we can't guarantee what line will fight who, but we can try to influence as best as we can. The Jedi Masters are really the ones that kind of control a lot of that too. So I put her in a line, and I made sure we walked her all the way down, made sure everything was going great. And the entire time, her family's telling me this whole story about her entire background in and out of hospitals and stuff like that. And so I start talking with my coordinator, Josh, and we actually make it possible for this little girl, Megan, to get back on Millennium Falcon. Again, this is around the time it's open, so it's like, 200-minute wait ride, time. And so she's able to get back on Millennium Falcon. She loves the whole show. She's able to fight Vader, and her family finds me after they ride Millennium Falcon, and she's like, Andrew, I can't tell you, but they just love every single second. And I'm like, oh, that was just so great. But that's not where the story ends. They come back 3 months later as I'm working at Indiana Jones, and their coordinators are rushing all over the place. Everyone's trying to find me. Megan's there, and she's ready to fight, and she wants to fight Kylo Ren this time. And but she didn't want to go in until she got me. And so they waited for me to come, and I showed up, and she gave me the biggest hug. She rushed out of her wheelchair again. And her family said, I want you to know that Megan has been back in the hospital. She's had some of the same issues again. She's had some of the same problems. But I want you to know that every single doctor, every single nurse, and every single person that's come to visit us or that knows Megan has seen the video of her fighting Darth Vader. And she has never forgotten you. We have never forgotten you. And we even named her service animal who's being trained for her. Her service animal's name is Vader. And it just made me feel so great. And the family was just like talking to my coordinators, like, how can you get this guy promoted? He's a race. Like, this guy is making the magic. And I'm like, it was just so great. And so that was a favorite moment.
That is so heartwarming. That is so unbelievably heartwarming to hear that.
Yeah.
I don't think you have another story that even comes close to that, do you?
I mean, no, I can't top that with anything else. I mean, there's a ton of funny stories about negative guest experiences, but I mean, for the most part, with positive experiences, I've been able to get so many cool moments, meeting so many cool people, both as a cast member and as a guest, and just getting all these really great interactions. On one of my last few days, I got to meet Josh tomorrow as a cast member, and just had a brief conversation with him, and he's an amazing guy, and he genuinely does care about every single cast member there. You guys probably see him post on Instagram and maybe on Facebook.
I saw his Instagram post just a couple of days ago of him and the security guard, the 2 custodial, and that one other cast member.
I've never met a boss who cares more about cast members than Josh tomorrow. And he is incredible. He's the most charismatic guy I've ever met. He's just super kind, super loving. I seriously hope that they make him like head of the parks department eventually, whenever all this leadership thing gets finished, because he deserves it. He genuinely cares about every single cast member at Disney World.
To me, he almost feels like the most Walt-like cast member executive that the company has had in a while. Well, he walks around the parks and talks to the guests and the cast members.
Mm-hmm.
He just seems so genuine.
He's a very Walt-like person, and he's just a great man, just a great, kind man.
I want to meet him so bad because I haven't gotten to meet him yet. So, all right. Well, I can't really think of anything else. This is again why I write notes down. So let's go ahead and move over to the chat here. So chat, it's your time to shine. What question do you have for Andy? Let's start with this one right here from Mel. Mel asks, do you ever get guests who don't want to slide to make room for others?
All the time, almost every show. That was one of the fun challenges for me. I actually loved packing guests. I did it really well. I almost wore out my voice every single show I did it. If any of you guys have ever gotten to see me pack before, it was so much fun. There's something exhilarating about being able to just yell at 300 people. It's just so much fun. But there would be so many times where there would be guests who wouldn't fight over. Either they wouldn't speak the language, or they're trying to like, see, here's a hurt leg, can't slide. They would like, all right, well, that's fine. Can we have people scoot in like around you? Like, could you stand up out of your row? So that way we have people who want to sit there, could they sit there? We would have that all the time. One of my least favorite experiences with that was a couple days prior to when we closed. I was working at Indy, and it was really frustrating when there were people of Asian descent who people wouldn't want to sit next to them. And I'm like, this is terrible. Come on, guys. And they were just being very, very just trashy individuals. And so we would get people to sit in around them. There was one time, though, I was trying to get people to sit in this section, the VIP section, and people would be like pushing each other down. And so I would literally like wait for those people to sit above them, and I would just open up the VIP section to have the people that were getting pushed over just to sit in the front row. And I'm like, just take that section then, if you're getting pushed over by someone, and let them watch you walk all the way down the front row. That was always fun to do. But good question. Yeah.
All right. Also from Ellen asked, do they sometimes let Fast Pass guests in before the Fast Pass time starts for Indy?
Yes. In certain situations, we always try to keep it as close to that time as we can, because that way it prevents us from having to have that line back out all the way around. So for those of you guys familiar with the Indiana Jones queue for the show, the queue line, when it's at full length, will wrap in through this place we call the jungle, all the way in and around, all the way up to the Fast Pass line, where the entrance to the theater is. If that gets backed up, that can hold about 200 to 300 people. But if you open it earlier than we're ready to open the theater, that will get backed up all the way past like 50s prime time, all the way down to Hollywood and Vine. The farthest I ever went, I almost went to, I think it was called Keystone Clothiers. It's that little shop that's right near Hollywood Boulevard, just for Indiana Jones. And that happened during the peak weeks back in Christmas vacation. So we try not to let people into the queue for that reason. But sometimes we do, just because people will start a line, and people will want to wait for some reason. They'll want to wait for an hour for that show to even start, and they don't get it when they enter in. Like, I thought the show was starting now. Like, no, the show doesn't start till that time, 3:15, 4:45, 6 o'clock, whatever the show is. So you get that all the time.
All right, I'm scrolling the chat trying to find the next question, because I'm trying to find the ones we missed during this. Give me. All right. Skip ahead right here. All right. Carrie says, I was thinking about the international college program in a couple of years, but I have autism. Would it be too hard for me?
That's a great question. However, I don't. I think one of the biggest things about any of these programs or anything that you do in life, just know what are your limits. What are the things that you're comfortable doing, and what are the things that you might need some help with. And I think with Disney, one of the cool things is it's such a versatile company that if you feel uncomfortable in a certain area, like even, let's just say if you applied for the international college program and you got a role in attractions, however, you feel like that was a little bit too much for you, you could talk with them. They'll be able to work with you. Like, hey, could I possibly work in merchandise instead? or could I work possibly in custodial instead? It might be a little bit easier for you. Just knowing what your limits are, knowing what you're capable of doing. If you're okay with making large steals or going up and downstairs or lifting stuff or sorting through glasses or making sure safety checks are in place, then you can do it. It's just knowing what you're capable of, but also don't limit yourself too. Feel free to be able to, just explore that, explore what you can do. Because I think you probably even do more than you even give yourself credit for. So just know what you're capable of and know that you can do it.
Right. So I've got a string of 3 questions from Mel, who now claims she's now done asking questions for 5 seconds. All right. So
Okay.
Mel first asked, what do they do when it starts raining during Indy?
It depends. It depends on when it starts raining. If it starts raining before the boulder roll scene, typically what they'll do is they will do an abbreviated show. An abbreviated show will be, they will do the boulder roll scene. They'll finish that entire scene. They'll push all the platforms back and they'll do part of Cairo. The part I'm talking about is they will do all the way up to when Andy and Marion ascend on the elevator. They'll stop right at the elevator. Depending on how wet the rooftops are, they might do a little bit on the rooftops and then they'll just have them stop because they're not going to have them jump rooftop to rooftop to rooftop if it's pouring rain outside. And so at that point, that's when they'll stop and then they'll do the truck stop sequence and they'll end it at that. If it is raining and it is past Cairo, like for instance, if it's starting to rain during the airplane scene, they'll finish out the whole show. They won't stop the show unless there is a situation. They won't stop it, and they'll keep it going. Like there's been issues where the trap door didn't open for the mechanic to drop in, and so the mechanic will hastily, run over the mat and get shot up by the plane, and that's how they'll change it. They're very, very, very good with adapting to circumstances, and so it just really depends on when it's raining.
All right. So her next question, what is your favorite snack in Galaxy's Edge?
The Ronto wraps or Ronto roasters. They had a really good chicken one that I was a really big fan of. It was kind of like a Euro, but it's a really good chicken one. I tried the jerky at Ronto roasters. I wasn't too impressed with that, but I like the Ronto wraps. It's really good.
All right. And finally, her third question, what do you think they will do with lockout dates for CMs when the parks reopen?
And that depends on what the crowds will be like when the parks open. I feel like the crowds will be very, very heavy when the parks open again. And I feel like they're going to probably be limiting who all gets to come in the parks. I think like there's probably be like temperature checks, like I think Bob Iger was talking about. I think there's probably going to be a limit as to how many people are going to be in the parks. They're probably going to shorten the capacity a little bit more. I doubt that they're going to be having cast members in the parks, at least for a little bit, just because they want to make sure that the parks are safe. And they also want to make sure that they're getting the money that they need as well from the parks, because they are losing a lot of money right now with the parks being closed.
All right. Resort Budgeting asks, do they really make the volunteers sign paperwork?
That's 100% true.
It is?
Yeah, 100% true.
Departments that you would know.
Yeah, so we have a waiver, a legit waiver. So what happens is whenever a volunteer gets selected from an audience, and it is random, 100% random, except for the planted extra, they will send them all up the stairs and they'll send them to the right or house right side of the theater. And there's a little blue podium, like a sky blue podium over there. And that podium on the top of it, if you guys ever walk past it, you can see it too. There's a waiver. And on that waiver, you can actually read it there too. It's a pretty big waiver. No one really ever reads the waiver, but it's just a waiver just explaining any of the benefits or any of the, these people are willingly agree to walk out on a stage that has explosions and they possibly could get hurt if they're not careful and if they're not following anything like that. So these people are agreeing to the waiver. What they'll do is they'll sign they'll write their name, they'll print their name, and then they will write their physical address. I never really understood what that meant, but it just means if they need to get in contact with them. I used to joke with guests, I'm like, that's where they send the bodies, if they need to. And then they sign the name after that. But that's 100% true. Everyone does it except for the planted extra. Planted extra is a stunt double, and they have their own waivers that they do. So
Yeah, that's what Resort Budgeting was just asked. He's like, planted extra.
yeah, the planted extra is, if you ever watch the show, at right after the Cairo truck flip scene, they will talk about how fighting, like stunt choreography, is very, very, tough because it's very, very close. You're missing people by a matter of inches. Instead of talking about it, let's just have someone show you, sir, would you come out? And they'll bring some guy out, and Marion will typically go and fight the extra, and they have this little, choreographed fight sequence where the stunt double will react to Marion, and it's really
It's hands down the funniest part of the show for me, though.
it's one of my favorites, yeah. And all
Just
the stunt doubles,
he
all the
just
stunt doubles
pushes
are
the
super nice.
button and
Yeah, the backward roll is one of my favorite parts. I
Yeah,
always
the
like to talk. Yeah, I always like to talk to the extras or the stunt doubles whenever they come up as much as I can without trying to ruin an immersion. One time I asked one of them, like, "What's your favorite stunt that you get to do?" And he said, "Oh, dude, I love jumping off the buildings. It's so much fun to jump off the buildings." And so it's just super cool. They're really nice guys. All of the people who work at Indy are super nice guys.
So Mel has yet another question for you. She wants to know, do you think they will try and not pack so many people into the shows now?
Yes, 100%. The last few days, we weren't having everyone sit like butt cheek to butt cheek. We were, like, I think what the term I was saying whenever I was telling them to move down, I'm like, just leave about a few feet next to your neighbor there, folks. And that's just how they would pack them in. I think for this time forward, the theater can fit about 2,100 people. It can fit about 1,800, like, comfortably, sitting in the seats. And then you can probably squeeze in maybe 100 or two, just depending if people scoot in enough. And then you can probably fit about 100 or so on that back standing area. What I'm guessing they will do is they will start packing the show to about 1,800 people, and that they'll cut it off at 1,800 people. That way it gives them plenty of space.
So me and you were talking about this before the stream, and I said that I can't see Magic Kingdom going without Happily Ever After. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I know that's going to do some logistical problems with social distancing and everything, but I just cannot see them going without Happily Ever After if they can help it.
It would be interesting to see them try to do it with Happily Ever After. The problem is people would just have to be responsible. Like Disney would have to say, like, look, we're willing to bring this forward, but you guys need to be responsible. If you guys aren't going to step on each other's shoes and stuff like that, we'll just cancel the show. Because if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. And I mean, I feel like that's the safety measure that they have to kind of keep in place for any of the shows. But it'll be interesting to see for sure. I think Happily Ever After was very interesting. I think you could still do Fantasmic though. You could definitely have Fantasmic. You'll just have to limit the amount of seats for sure.
All right, so let's move on to the Would You Rather. So this is our finale portion of today's stream. I hope you've had a great time on the stream, Andy.
This is a blast. I love this. This is fun.
All right.
Taking notes.
Taking notes. Oh no, he's gonna steal my ideas. No, I'm kidding. All right. So, would you rather? And remember, we did these on Saturday, so the chat has already done these. So we're gonna see what you would do now. Would you rather ride Mission Space orange or green?
Orange. I've done both. I mean, orange offers more of a thrill. Green's like riding Star Tours.
All right. Soaring around the world or Flight of Passage?
That's tough. That's a tough one. it's tough because I hate wearing the glasses. I hate the 3D atmosphere. I don't like 3D rides. Except for Muppet Vision 3D.
I'm about to say, but yet your favorite attraction.
That's the only one that kind of works. So I see. That's why I like Soarin' though. Is it's not 3D. It's a practical effect, and so that's the hard part. I think I'd go with Soarin'. Just because it's more of a flying feeling to me. Like the Banshees are incredible, and those are awesome ride vehicles. But I can't stand those glasses. And I've ridden both a bunch of times. I will ride Soarin' a lot more, and I will gladly wait in a 5-minute line for Soarin' than a hour and so minute line for Flight of Passage.
All right. Expedition Everest or Rock and Roller Coaster?
Expedition Everest, hands down. That
My
ride,
man, yes.
that ride takes Rock and Roller Coaster is trash. It's just incredible. Rock and Roller Coaster still gives me anxiety, man. Like I still think about it. Like it's just that one launch. It's just the launch. If it didn't have the launch, I would be fine. But
that launch is something else, though.
It's a little much for me, but I feel it every time.
Meet and greets: heroes and princesses or villains?
I mean, probably villains. They're a little bit more interesting to talk to sometimes. I mean, I work with Mickey and Minnie, and I work with Olaf, and I've gotten to interact with them a ton. But whenever I've interacted with villains, it's just super fun. They're just super cool.
Probably the most fun routine interaction with the villain you can have is Gaston.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Because Gaston meets every day the park's open, over there by his tavern in Magic Kingdom. So
yeah, Disneyland is where it's at to meet the villains. I mean, I feel like Disneyland is just it's tough because they're a park where they can do that kind of stuff, where they can just bring out all these random characters. But yeah,
I did notice the characters walking around a bit more as we got closer to the closure, because I just assumed it was because Josh D'Amaro was there and he was encouraging a character entertainment to be a little more adventurous or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, villains. Most likely villains.
All right. So, number 5. I feel like I don't even have to ask this one to you because I know what you're going to say. Haunted Mansion or Tower of Terror?
Haunted Mansion.
Hey, thank you. Exactly what I knew what you were going to say.
I'm grateful I was able to get the backstage tour of Haunted Mansion before all this happened, though.
That's right. You got to see Haunted Mansion backstage.
I got to pet the Raven. The Raven and it's the room where the guy's trying to push out of the coffin. They pet that Raven every single day for good luck, and it's so cool to being able to touch an animatronic like that, or be able to see the animatronics up close in the ballroom scene. That was super cool. The entire thing was just awesome. If you guys ever get the opportunity, it's once in a lifetime amazing thing. So.
All right, number 6, because there's 10 of these. So number 6.
Yeah. Sorry.
Mine Train or Slinky Dog?
Slinky, just because it's longer. That's a tough one though, because Mine Train's a lot of fun. But I think Slinky just because it's a little bit longer.
I just imagine getting on Mine Train now, just go.
Yeah, no, always. You kind of got to rock it. So
you got to rock it when going through the dark room, the dark ride scene.
It's tradition.
All right. So this one seems easy to me. I don't know why would anyone would pick one of these, but Speedway or Test Track? Tomorrowland Speedway or
Test Track?
Tomorrowland Speedway or Test Track?
Why would you ever choose Speedway? Like
exactly.
Especially this rendition of Speedway is the most boringest Speedway I think I've ever ridden in my entire life.
Hey, Chris.
There's nothing about Speedway that Speedway, the gas station, exactly. It's oh god.
Well, y'all know this. I have one particular Speedway gas station on property that I always go to. I even literally refer to it as my Speedway.
Mm.
And it's actually one of the ones that are closed now because they closed down 2 of the 3 speedways on property temporarily. So it's one of the ones that got shut down temporarily.
But yeah, test track's jerky, but at least there's something to look at.
So guys, I do encourage you to go back into my posted video history. It wasn't a live stream; it was an edited video. It was just a conglomeration of several Instagram stories that I conglomerated in one video of me and Andy on test track one day.
That was a good one.
And it's really stupid, but it's a stupid fun type of video.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
So I encourage you to go watch that. It's a really fun video. Right, let me see if I can find it real quick, guys. Give me one second. When was that? Do you remember when we did that now?
January or February.
So I'm going to post a link.
Actually, no, I think it was a little before January because it was before the refurb. Might have been in December.
It says 4 months ago. Just want to put that in here.
That's a really good idea about letting the cars go free on the speedway and not have to be in like the rails. That would be an improvement.
All right, guys. So make sure you go check out this video after the stream. I just put it in the chat.
That's a good one. Just
us acting dumb and stupid on test drive, but it was really fun. We had a great time.
Hey, you should ask everybody that question I asked you that stumped you the other night.
We can ask them.
About the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad names.
We can save that for trivia night on Saturday.
Okay.
All right. So you picked Test Track because, by the way, you never got to ride the original version of Test Track with the original theming and all that.
With the crash test dummies.
Yeah.
So I got in the car of Test Track, but I was 5 years old. I remember this vividly actually, because I remember the queue. I remember the crashing of the stunt doubles, I keep calling them stunt doubles, the crash test dummies, and I looked at, because on the original it went up this big hill. And I was just like, I don't know where you're going. And then you're coming down this big hill afterwards. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. And plus I heard the cars whizzing around. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I think it's going to go upside down. So I was a 5-year-old and I chickened out. And so I got in the car and then I got out. So that was my only interaction with the crash test dummy version of Test Track. But it looks so much better than the current version of Test Track.
I've ridden the original version several times, and it was actually the version on my elementary school and middle school field trips that I keep telling everyone about, and it was just so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so question 8. This one seems kind of easy. Battle of the Trains: Walt Disney World Railroad or the Conservation Station Railroad to Rafiki's Planet Watch?
So one of them is actually operating now. So, I mean, I only actually got to ride during my time there. I only got to ride the conservation one.
That's right. The Walt Disney World Railroad was down the entire time you were here.
But you're
it's
going to have
the same thing as Disneyland's railroad. It's just, ours.
They have the dioramas for the Disney World one. I haven't ridden Disney World one in at least 10 years. So I have zero memory of it, sadly. But I love the Disneyland Railroad. But I would probably choose the Disney World Railroad even still without knowing much about it. Just because Conservation Station one is nice. I like that you're only facing one way, just like how Disneyland one is, I think. Oh wait, no, that's probably incorrect. But it's still fun. I like that one a lot.
All right.
Probably Conservation right now.
American Adventure at Epcot or Hall of Presidents at Magic Kingdom?
This is topical. I should have put these two up against each other. That would have been fun. Probably American Adventure. I love that that entire song sequence at the end is the cheesiest,
The Golden Dreams.
most patriotic thing. I freaking adore it. I literally have it on my phone. It's whenever I'm feeling like I need to be extra patriotic, that's what I'm gonna play, and it's so fun. I'm just glad they put it in for the a little bit of Epcot Forever too. I'm glad that they left it in a little bit.
All right, final one. This one has 3 options, so listen to them carefully. Would you rather sleep in and stay late, or arrive at Rope Drop, take a break later, or Rope Drop to close?
So for me personally, whenever I did Disney, I would do I would either sleep in and then stay till close. Or if I was going to go hardcore and wanted to do something, I would rope drop to close.
You know me, if I can do it, if the timing of everything at home works out for it, I'm there Rope Drop to close. That's me.
Yeah. So but more typically than not, I sleep in and then I go. I take it easy.
All right,
There's
well,
nothing
that was
I'm gonna ride that I need to get up crazy early for. So.
all right. Well, that's everything I have. Andy, thank you for joining me this evening. I miss you, buddy.
Oh, it's been an utmost pleasure. I love doing this kind of stuff. I definitely think I really look forward to seeing you guys again, and it's just been I hate during this time period of quarantine, but I'm glad that we're all being productive though in some way, shape, and form, and that we're all being very positive about it, and that's ultimately what we have to be sometimes.
Well, hurry home, buddy. We want you home.
For sure.
UNCR,
Thank you guys all.
We want you home in Orlando.
Yeah. Thank you guys all for the questions, especially the ones about my former workplaces, because I love answering those questions. Those are so much fun. But I can't thank you guys enough, especially you, Aaron. Always good to see you, buddy.
All right, guys, make sure you check out Andy's The Playground with Sierra tomorrow night. What time is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow night at 8:00. We'll be featuring Rod from Disney Rod. We're going to be talking about Disney foods. We're also going to be talking about Disney Rod a little bit too. So it should be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, Andy, I will definitely be talking to you soon, and hopefully we'll have you home and get you on My Disney World Fix again somehow. Maybe a stream in the park.
For sure. Definitely looking forward to that day.
All right, guys. So for everyone else, that's the end of the night. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. So if you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button before you head out the door. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring that bell icon so you know when I go live or post new videos in the future. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And you can donate to the channel at paypal.me/MyDisneyWorldFix. Thank you to all who do. And with that said, we're going to sign off now. I will see you all Sunday for trivia, and we'll be watching Saving Mr. Banks after the trivia. Maybe we can get Andy in the chat for that.
That'll be a lot of fun. I will definitely stop by.
All right, guys. So with that said, good night, everyone. We'll see you real soon, and may all your dreams be magical. Good night, everyone.